It's funny how when you hit rock bottom, you receive more support than ever before. I recently saw how much a community can impact one person when they came together and support you. The car community is usually thought of being obnoxious and rowdy, full of crime and hate, but my experience disproves just that. From the 2 years I had built my car and its downfall, my community was there for me. My first car was a 2013 Scion TC. Nothing special, but I loved it. I didn't know any better. I'd always wanted a cool car, and there had only been a couple of Scion TCs in the world that looked incredible. I had my heart and mind set on turning this car into something of that figure. The first week I had the car, I started making connections. Online, the car community is huge. And while there are always negative people out there, the positivity and encouragement you see from a mere glance on a car account was like no other group I had ever seen. On the road, the thumbs up and smiles from other drivers can show who is and isn't in the community and builds a sense of connections other drivers that work on cars can't experience. The conversations between newly found car friends would go on for hours about cars, new cars, car parts, and anything else car related. It doesn't take long for someone to be engulfed in such an environment like this. As my experience went on with this car, I started building it. I did careful research to make sure my car was one of a kind, uncomparable. The first thing I did was an exhaust, and trying to convince my parents, though they had come a long way, to do this was very hard. I wanted to do everything myself. Someone else putting something on my car didn't sit well with me, but my dad at least wanted to take it to a mechanic. Make sure it was novice enough. Blatantly, the mechanic said I had no experience and couldn't do it properly. So we took the exhaust back home. I marched to my neighbor's door and asked if I could borrow his jack stands in trade. I'd wash his truck. After watching YouTube videos and consulting with people online, I was confident in my effort. I jacked the car up, observed the underside, and started pulling parts off. I had finished the first modification, and I couldn't explain how it felt. To take something off and put it back together in working condition better than it came, I had an itch for that now. I started going to car meets and started experiencing how welcoming people are and how much people wanted to engage and talk about your car and what you've done. After many online confrontations and research, I got deeper into how the car works and what should be upgraded and replaced. I did headlights, taillights, wheels, suspension, and even a steering wheel. Most people ask me why I put all this stuff in my car, and I really didn't have an answer. But I knew one thing, that it made me happy. With all the things stacking up, I wanted more money than my one job could offer. So over the summer, I took a second job at Amco Transmissions. I was excited. Getting paid to work on cars and drive cars is a dream for a 17-year-old. I worked every single weekday during summer, 7 to 5, which later turned into 6. And on the weekend, I worked as a barista, which I did not want to do, but it was for a better cause. I saved it all, actually in hopes of buying a second car, which didn't seem too logical, but I was halfway there already. Recently, a friend reached out and asked if I wanted to be a part of his car club. He was just starting it, and I was in. I got 2 friends to join, and we scheduled a photo shoot in a parking garage. With about 20 other cars, I remember that drive so vividly. My 2 friends and I leave my house to start the drive, going back and forth over these walkie-talkies. I was in the left lane cruising until I saw the red light. There was no traffic in front of me and none behind, so I joined my friends in the right lane now, behind both of them at a stoplight. And then it hit me. Literally. A car hit me from behind. I look up in shock and my friend looks at me. The car had frame damage in the rear and needed 2 new bumpers. Luckily, everything would be covered under insurance, but I was not too happy at the moment. As we got into the logistics of the repairs, I realized I didn't want what I had. I wanted something better. Instead of putting the same bumpers back on, I got custom ones. But those bumpers were too low for how the car was, so I put it on air suspension. Among a slew of other parts I had bought to drown the absence of my car actually being with me, the community was more present than ever. My friends didn't let me pout, taking me for drives and even letting me drive. Where else can you find people like this, that accept you, listen, and actually understand, and can help? 3 months later, after too many phone calls, the car was done and out of the shop. Now it was up to me to put it on bags. Sometimes I'd get up at 5 in the morning to work on it and go out at 12 at night to look at it. I never realized how much this car meant to me. And after I had finished, I realized it wasn't the car that I had loved so much, but the community that was brought with it. 3 days after I finished my now dream car, I was on my way home from school. In the middle of an intersection, and the light turned red. There was a car coming, and he had enough time to stop, but decided to run the red light. And that's the sad difference between a car and a painting. Both art, but one can be taken from you at any moment. My whole summer's work was lost. Actually, the parts are lingering in my garage, tucked away until someone decides to buy them or they become obsolete. So with my dream car that I had just built got totaled, unrepairable, I lost it. I didn't think it was real for days. I felt like I was in a trance. Days later, my mom asked if I was going to do it again. I asked what? She said, build another. I replied with, of course, because I had realized the most important lesson right before I lost my car. It's never about the objects or the money, but about the people and connections. The only consistent thing I had was the community and the support around me.